Tonight, we embark on a journey to explore a creature that has influenced human history more than many of our kings, the dog. Before we settle in, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you truly appreciate what we share here. I'd love to hear from you in the comments about where you're watching from and what time it is. It's always intriguing to connect with our global audience. Now, let's dim the lights and perhaps turn on a fan for a gentle background hum. Let's ease into this evening's adventure together. The Ice Age wasn't just a picturesque snowy wonderland filled with lessons of friendship. Instead, it was a harsh, frozen reality crafted by nature's cruelest forces. Temperatures were life-threatening, predators lurked around every corner, and even your own campfire could turn against you, collapsing unexpectedly. Humanity endured through sheer stubbornness, questionable choices, and a few fortunate breaks. Picture this: you're wrapped in animal skins that carry the scent of regret and mildew, sitting beside a fire that barely offers warmth. Your entire clan resembles a tired group of raccoons, each one adorned with hats made from the very skins they wear. Dinner consists of a piece of mammoth meat, so charred it resembles charcoal. The mood is low, hygiene is absent, and hope feels like a distant memory. Then, from the shadows, you hear it, a low growl that is neither subtle nor friendly. It's the kind of growl that suggests, "I might just eat you in your shoes." Wolves. Naturally, it has to be wolves. They've been observing your camp all day, silently critiquing your dismal hunting skills. To them, you are merely a disappointment with a heartbeat. But tonight, something unexpected occurs. From the darkness emerges an unusual figure, the world's least successful wolf. He's scrawny, socially awkward, and the bottom of the pack, a reject, if you will. This poor creature is so desperate that he's making questionable decisions, like approaching humans armed with spears and anxiety. He inches closer to the glow of the fire, causing a wave of internal panic among the humans. Then, the wolf sits down as if he owns the place. Everyone freezes, not wanting to be the first to become dinner. The wolf gazes at your mammoth bone with the same hungry look that modern dogs have when you open a bag of chips. In a moment of ancient folly that could change everything, someone tosses him a scrap. It's not an act of kindness or hope. It's a desperate attempt to ensure that maybe, just maybe, he'll choose to eat the food instead of you. The wolf snatches the scrap and trots back into the shadows, its tail flicking in what could be gratitude or perhaps a sign of indigestion. Each night, it returns, inching closer, even settling down nearby and growling at other predators as if it has taken on the role of security for the camp. Humans accept this arrangement, finding that life is undeniably easier when a creature with sharp teeth stands by their side. Gradually, the fierce hunter transforms into a freeloader, and the freeloader evolves into a companion. The creature that once posed a threat becomes the first dog, all because two species found themselves too cold, too hungry, and too weary to continue their rivalry. As this once formidable wolf recognizes that humans are essentially a walking buffet of half-eaten meals, it brings along friends, not the proud alpha wolves, but the outcasts and misfits. These are the wolves whose own mothers might have sighed in disappointment. They gaze at their reflections in a frozen pond, thinking, "I'm doing my best." For these wolves, humanity's greatest invention, long before fire, agriculture, or the wheel, was the garbage pile. To Ice Age wolves, a human trash heap resembled a Michelin star restaurant where the chef is blindfolded and disillusioned with his craft. Isn't it fascinating how connection can emerge from the most unexpected circumstances? Imagine a time when burnt bones, Leftover meat scraps and fat trimmings were considered worthless by humans, even those who were starving. Yet for wolves, these remnants were a delicacy, a gourmet feast. Before long, these wolves began to linger at the edges of human camps, close enough to catch the scent of stew, an aroma tinged with sadness, but far enough to escape if danger approached. This relationship was built on a foundation of fear, caution, and an unexpectedly low standard for cuisine. Humans soon discovered something remarkable. The wolves that ventured closer were those that refrained from aggressive behavior. This trait became invaluable during the harsh Ice Age. As the dynamic evolved, wolves approached the camp while humans held their spears tightly. The wolves, in turn, displayed their most pitiful expressions, signaling that they meant no harm. Humans would sigh, toss a bone their way, and grumble about the inconvenience. Night after night, the least aggressive and often the most desperate wolves returned. Over time, these wolves began to change, not in a spiritual or philosophical sense, but through the simple process of evolution. Nature whispered, "Let's make these creatures smaller, less threatening, and more appealing to the humans who clearly enjoy a project." Their snouts shortened, their eyes widened, and their tails began to wag, perhaps a trait that developed from one particularly enthusiastic wolf, who discovered that excitement for leftovers brought even more food. Over time, wolves shifted from being fierce predators, threatening your safety, to becoming companions, seeking snacks and emotional support. Yet this change wasn't purely altruistic. They gained warmth from human fires, protection from larger threats, and a reliable food source, assuming humans had caught something that day. Sometimes they even enjoyed a bit of mammoth jerky, a treat that came from human generosity, born of desperation. Evolution worked wonders, transforming a once deadly predator into the first professional scavenger. Humans, in turn, felt a touch of safety, not because they were stronger or smarter, but because a wolf with no ambitions found it easier to coexist with humans than with its fellow wolves. This marked the beginning of domestication, a partnership that might seem lazy, but stands as one of the most successful collaborations in history. Domestication wasn't a sudden event where a wolf decided to become adorable. Instead, it unfolded over thousands of years through a gradual process driven by hunger, a desire for comfort, and the realization that attacking humans wasn't a wise choice. By this point, the wolves lingering near human camps had morphed into something different. They were no longer the fierce hunters of their kind. They were the runts, the socially anxious ones, the wolves who couldn't hunt or fight well, perhaps even the ones who struggled in basic wolf school. This transformation reveals not just a change in the wolves, but a remarkable shift in the bond between species, one that continues to shape our world today. Imagine a world where wolves face the burden of student loans, struggling and defaulting like many of us. Yet, in this challenging landscape, they stumble upon a remarkable truth. A gentler approach can lead to unexpected rewards. This marks the beginning of survival through charm. Wolves that sport slightly rounder faces find themselves blessed with more leftovers. Those who refrain from growling at children are welcomed closer to the warmth of the fire. A wolf whose tail wags playfully instead of thrashing in anger receives admiration, stirring an ancient human urge to share snacks. Over countless generations, these camp-dwelling wolves evolve, not in sudden leaps, but gradually, much like a bad haircut that eventually grows out. Their skulls become smaller, their teeth less fearsome, and their eyes transform into expressions that scientists now recognize as emotionally appealing. Wolves transition into dogs, in a manner reminiscent of how influencers gain popularity by showcasing endearing behavior until someone takes notice. As this transformation unfolds, humans start to observe something intriguing. These newly evolved proto-dogs don't merely cease their aggressive tendencies, they begin to assist in their own unique ways. One wolf might bark to alert others of an approaching predator. Another may follow hunters, hoping for scraps while unintentionally aiding in the hunt. Meanwhile, a third wolf might simply sit in the camp, providing emotional support to someone who has just encountered a minor setback with a berry bush. Isn't it fascinating how connections can form in the most unexpected ways? Imagine a time when humans looked at creatures smaller than wolves, friendlier than wolves, and far less capable. They thought, this one might survive if I protect it. So they did just that. The strong wolves disappeared, while the cute, needy, and clingy ones flourished. Evolution smiled upon this new strategy of being adorable. This transformation unfolded gradually, from predator to scavenger, then from scavenger to sidekick, and ultimately to the creature that curls up in your bed and claims half your pillow. The instinct to hunt faded, replaced by a stronger urge to be fed. Humanity found itself nurturing the world's first professional, loaf-shaped companions. As these early dogs fully embraced their new lifestyle of less hunting and more begging, humans began to realize something surprising. Despite their lack of skill and coordination, these little ex-wolves were actually quite helpful. They might not assist with chores, but they certainly raised the alarm when something felt off. Dogs became the first alarm systems of the world. Picture a prehistoric night. The wind howls, the fire crackles, and your clan tries to sleep through the sound of someone snoring like a dying mammoth. In that moment, the presence of these faithful companions becomes invaluable. They may not seem like much, but their loyalty and instinct add a layer of safety to your night. A sudden rustle breaks the stillness of the darkness. Before the humans can grasp their spears, one of the camp dogs bursts into frantic barking. It's not bravery or heroism, it's just an overwhelming noise. This barking is powerful enough to wake the dead and make even the fiercest predators rethink their choices. It's a game changer. Until this moment, humans relied on their ears to detect danger, hoping they would serve them well. But the cries of dogs transformed everything. They barked at predators, strangers, shadows, and even their own tails, anything they deemed worthy of alarm. While prehistoric humans faced many challenges, sleep deprivation from relentless barking might have been their most universal struggle. Yet dogs were more than just loud companions. They were territorial, claiming the camp as their own. The same wolves that once viewed humans as a mere snack now patrolled around the fire like diligent bouncers. Humans recognized this loyalty and rewarded it with scraps, affection, and endless encouragement, a bond that echoes in the relationship we share with dogs today. Before long, dogs uncovered another remarkable ability. They could track scents far better than humans ever could. Imagine a world where early dogs could sense danger before humans even noticed. They distinguished between harmless sounds and those that signaled a real threat. While these brave companions rarely confronted predators directly, they excelled at alerting their human partners, often retreating to safety behind them. In turn, humans began to see these messy, needy creatures, not as wild animals, but as valuable allies. Dogs had their flaws. They still snatched food, made questionable choices, and sometimes panicked over nothing. Yet for the first time in prehistory, humans had a loyal companion watching their backs, something protective that occasionally acted purposefully. The Ice Age remained unforgiving, but now humans faced the darkness with a partner by their side. these early dogs were no longer just scavengers or furry alarm clocks. They were evolving into essential partners in the harsh reality of Ice Age hunting. The rules of this grim sport were straightforward: catch something or face starvation, ideally without becoming prey yourself. Humans, equipped with spears and teamwork, navigated this challenge, often finding humor in their struggles. Imagine for a moment the extraordinary abilities of dogs. Their noses can detect prey from miles away, while their ears pick up the faintest sounds, like the snap of a twig. They possess an energy that often leaves us humans questioning our own stamina. Picture a typical hunt. Humans spot a herd of large, formidable creatures, perhaps with horns that could rearrange your skeletal structure. But before the humans can process it, the dogs notice too, often barking excitedly, eager to impress their companions. This commotion startles the prey, causing it to either flee or charge depending on its mood. As the dogs race ahead, driven by excitement and pure instinct, humans follow closely behind, motivated by hunger, fear, and the realization that their winter coats are falling apart. Together, they form an unlikely hunting team. Surprisingly, this peculiar partnership proves effective. Dogs chase prey into traps, flush animals from their hiding spots, and track wounded creatures through dense forests that would leave humans disoriented. The dogs handle the perilous tasks, while humans arrive later to throw spears, as if they shared equally in the effort. And perhaps the most delightful aspect of this dynamic, dogs genuinely seem to enjoy the chase. Imagine a world where the concept of risk assessment is foreign. In this realm, some creatures are simply excited to be part of the action, oblivious to the dangers that lurk. They are just happy to escape the chill or the mundane. Not every dog is a natural hunter. Some become enchanted by butterflies, while others might chase the wrong creature for hours. There are even those who run off, returning proudly with a stick, convinced they've solved the mystery of hunger. Yet, humans accepted these quirks because even the most distracted dog occasionally contributed to the hunt. The Ice Age hunting experience with dogs wasn't flawless, but it was certainly more effective and successful. It forged a bond between humans and dogs, one built on shared victories and challenges. There's nothing quite like the experience of facing a mammoth together to strengthen trust. Over time, humans began to see these animals as more than just tools. They transformed into essential partners and companions, evolving into something akin to friends. Somewhere between barking at threats and pursuing mammoths with questionable enthusiasm, dogs crossed an invisible line. They didn't move in through formal agreements. Rather, they found warmth in the presence of humans, recognizing that this arrangement was mutually beneficial. And as humans, weary from the struggles of the Ice Age and their own choices, allowed this bond to flourish, a new chapter began. Imagine a time when dogs nestled close to the edges of campfires. They kept their distance, wary of the strange humans who emitted odd sounds in their sleep, yet they lingered nearby to soak up the warmth. Then, one daring dog decided enough was enough. Tired of the biting cold, he boldly trotted into a human shelter, as if he owned the place. The humans were taken aback, but the dog held his ground, curling up in a corner and acting as though this was perfectly normal. In that moment, everything shifted. Initially, only a handful of dogs followed suit. The bravest, the most reckless, those who mistook danger for opportunity. But soon, more joined in. They discovered that humans had blankets, albeit primitive and a bit smelly, yet infinitely more comfortable than the frozen ground. At first, the humans protested. They grumbled and pushed the dogs away. But as the temperature plummeted, Reaching a point where survival seemed uncertain, they reluctantly drew the dogs in closer. Nothing warms a chilly shelter quite like a 50-pound fluffy companion who occasionally snores. This was the turning point. Dogs began to see human camps as their own dens. They guarded these spaces instinctively, growling at strangers, barking at unusual sounds, and sometimes waking everyone up at 3 in the morning. A new bond formed, one that would change the course of history. Imagine a pine cone shifting ominously. At that moment, humans remain unaware that the process of domestication has reached its conclusion. It's not that dogs merely coexist with humans, rather, humans adapt to life alongside dogs. Picture this: dogs claiming the coziest sleeping spots, relishing the tastiest scraps, and weaving their way into family dynamics like furry diplomats. They dictate who approaches the camp and even attempt to lend a paw with chores, often resulting in delightful chaos. Strangely, humans don't mind this at all. Despite the fur that blankets everything, the incessant barking, the occasional pilfering of food, and the blatant disregard for personal space, humans form deep emotional bonds with their canine companions. Dogs do something unexpected for Ice Age humans. They make life more bearable. Nights feel shorter, and the cold loses its harshness. For the first time, someone greets you with unfiltered joy, simply for being alive. This partnership isn't forged through blood or ritual. It blossoms from warmth, shared leftovers, and a mutual sense of loneliness. As the Ice Age begins to thaw, humanity collectively chooses survival over frostbite, allowing civilization to emerge. In this new world, dogs step confidently into the limelight, as if auditioning for their role in history. Nowhere do dogs shine quite as brightly as they do in ancient Egypt, a land rich in gold, gods, and grand pyramids. It's fascinating to think that the Egyptians looked at dogs and saw divine potential. This is particularly amusing, given that these dogs often rolled in questionable substances and scavenged whatever scraps they could find. Yet the Egyptians valued traits like loyalty, courage, and a strong set of teeth, qualities dogs possessed in abundance. Unlike many members of the royal court, dogs served as loyal guardians of homes, herders of livestock, and companions to hunters, venturing into marshes filled with hippos and crocodiles. Egyptian hunters placed their trust in dogs over their fellow nobles. Who could blame them? The Egyptians elevated their appreciation for dogs to remarkable heights. They immortalized these creatures in tomb paintings, carved them into statues, and depicted them on pottery. Some nobles even had their beloved dogs buried alongside them, ensuring that their companions could continue their antics in the afterlife. And then there's Anubis, the jackal-headed god associated with death and embalming. Although Egyptians insisted he wasn't directly based on dogs, one can't help but notice that ancient Egyptian jackals bore a striking resemblance to local street dogs, complete with their dramatic eyeliner. Isn't it captivating how such a complex relationship between humans and dogs has persisted through the ages? The divine message is unmistakable. In ancient Egypt, dogs commanded respect, instilled fear, and inspired love. They were even believed to guide souls into the underworld. Yet, amid this reverence, Egyptians had a curious habit. They shaved their dogs, not for hygiene, but because baldness was the height of fashion. Picture a proud hunting dog, noble and skilled, reduced to looking like a bewildered, shivering rat, pondering its existence. This was the Egyptian style. Nevertheless, dogs in Egypt enjoyed lives far better than most peasants. They had names, collars, and even fan art dedicated to them. Some received funerals that were more extravagant than those of many common folk. If reincarnation exists, who wouldn't want to return as an Egyptian noble's dog rather than as one of their servants? In this ancient society, dogs transformed from mere companions into emblems of protection, friendship, and loyalty. They embodied a universal truth. Dogs have always been our best friends, and humans were just beginning to realize it. By the time dogs reached ancient Greece, they had endured the Ice Age, embraced religion in Egypt, and were now prepared to face something even more daunting: Greek philosophers. Wolves had once confronted mammoths, and dogs had braved starvation. What do you think they will face next? Imagine a scene where an earnest intellectual attempts to explain ethics for 6 long hours. In ancient Greece, dogs are everywhere, roaming through workshops, bustling marketplaces, and gymnasiums where the Greeks are known for their vigorous exercise. Most importantly, they find their way into philosophical schools. You might wonder what these dogs are doing there. The answer is simple: they're napping through the lectures. Dogs seem to instinctively know that when someone is pondering the nature of truth, the best response is to simply take a nap. Yet, the Greeks held dogs in high regard. They viewed them as symbols of loyalty, bravery, and moral clarity, qualities that many Athenian citizens often lacked. Greek warriors relied on dogs for protection, farmers employed them to guard their flocks, and hunters appreciated their help in tracking down prey. Philosophers, too, found them useful, often using dogs as metaphors, because no discussion about virtue felt complete without a mention of these beloved companions. Interestingly, an entire philosophical movement arose named after dogs, the Cynics. The term cynic literally translates to dog-like, not for their loyalty, but for their simple way of living. They barked at society's absurdities, resisted conformity, and occasionally made bold statements in public spaces. Dogs would certainly have taken pride in that. Socrates himself admired dogs for their remarkable ability to discern friend from foe. As you reflect on this connection between dogs and ancient philosophy, consider what it might mean for us today. The lessons of loyalty, bravery, and the courage to challenge societal norms remain as relevant as ever. Take a moment to pause and think about how these traits resonate in your own life. Plato once likened dogs to ideal guardians, while Aristotle suggested they possessed a form of practical wisdom. This is quite amusing, especially when you consider that, during that time, dogs sometimes chewed on rocks for entertainment. Despite this, Greek households cherished their dogs, treating them with surprising affection. They bestowed names like Foxy, Whitey, Growler, and Blitzer upon them, a testament to our enduring struggle with naming. Dogs found their place lounging in courtyards, begging for scraps at taverns, and seamlessly integrating into family life without any hesitation. Yet, Greek dogs had responsibilities too. They guarded temples, herded goats, and even accompanied soldiers into battle, something Socrates tactfully chose to avoid. They stood sentinel at city gates through the night, barking at suspicious sounds, and at times, even at nothing at all. This proud tradition of canine companionship continues today. In the classical world, dogs were more than mere pets. They served as co-workers, protectors, and comforters for philosophers seeking a moment of respite. They embodied the qualities humans often aspire to, but seldom achieve. The Greeks recognized a profound truth: dogs live simply, love deeply, and judge without words, which perhaps makes them wiser than many philosophers. However, when these beloved companions arrived in ancient Rome, they encountered something quite daunting. Imagine an empire that sought to militarize everything in its path. If Rome could turn something into a weapon, it certainly did. And if it couldn't, Rome would conquer it anyway, often producing a manual that justified the idea of weaponization. Naturally, dogs were not spared from this approach. The Romans recognized the loyalty, speed, and emotional connection of dogs and thought, yes, perfect, let's put armor on them. Enter the Roman war dog, an animal that never signed up for this role. These dogs, frequently mastiffs or other large breeds, marched alongside Roman legions, adorned with spiked collars and sometimes even chainmail. Picture this: a barbarian warrior gearing up for battle, suddenly confronted by a massive armored dog charging at him like the most ferocious kitchen appliance imaginable. Roman commanders prized these dogs, not for their cuteness. Emotion was, after all, forbidden in the military, but for their ability to intimidate enemies and follow commands to bite. War dogs were versatile, guarding camps, delivering messages, and attacking intruders. Most notably, they became adept at stealing food from soldiers who were already struggling to survive. A true multitasker, indeed. Yet, it wasn't all about war and combat. Romans also cherished dogs in their homes. Wealthy families kept smaller lapdogs, affectionately named Fiddle, Little One, and Bitey. These beloved pets brought comfort and joy to their households, showcasing the multifaceted relationship between Romans and their canine companions. Imagine tiny dogs lounging on silk cushions, indulging in scraps from lavish banquets, and casting judgment on every guest who strolls into the villa. Meanwhile, on the frontiers, Roman soldiers share their meager rations with large, shaggy dogs that carry the scent of battle and potatoes. Roman farmers rely on dogs to protect their livestock, while merchants depend on them to safeguard their caravans. Even priests incorporate dogs into certain rituals, perhaps oblivious to their purpose, but likely hoping for a treat. And being Romans, they record it all. We find tombstones dedicated to beloved pets, adorned with poetic inscriptions that read, "I am in tears while carrying you to your last resting place, as much as I rejoiced when bringing you home in my own hands." This level of emotion is something Romans rarely expressed even towards their fellow humans. The most striking irony lies in their reverence for war, conquest, and discipline, yet Rome quietly yields to the emotional bonds formed with dogs. A dog could guard an empire, march alongside legions, and face battle with a bravery that many senators lacked. Yet when night falls and the fighting subsides, even the toughest Roman soldier finds solace in the presence of a dog curled at his feet. In Rome, as in every corner of the world, dogs are not merely warriors, they are companions that soothe the soul. Imagine a time when family bonds were formed not just among humans, but also with our furry companions. As the Roman Empire expanded its reach across Europe, and the Greeks engaged in lively debates about ethics and even the meaning of chairs, dogs quietly embarked on a remarkable journey of their own. They conquered the world without plans or armies, relying instead on their charm and an innocent disregard for borders. When humanity constructed the Silk Road, a long dusty pathway connecting China to the Mediterranean, dogs looked at it and thought, what a lovely place for a stroll, and so they trotted off, accompanying merchants through deserts, over mountains, and into bustling cities. Sometimes they followed intentionally, other times merely because a merchant happened to drop a dumpling, or perhaps a dog simply woke up from a nap, realized it had wandered too far from home, and decided to go with the flow. Throughout the journeys along the Silk Road, three constants emerged: camels grumbling, merchants grumbling even louder, and dogs who, despite their lack of complaints, always managed to eat the most. These dogs became the unofficial guardians of the Silk Road, watching over tents at night, chasing away thieves and scaring off any animals that threatened the precious goods. Traders soon discovered an invaluable truth: a dog could be trusted far more than a business partner. As different cultures met and mingled along this ancient route, they exchanged not just silk and spices, but also the companionship and loyalty of dogs, weaving a rich tapestry of shared experiences and bonds. Imagine a bustling marketplace where cultures collide. A Persian trader encounters a Chinese caravan, spotting a fluffy little dog. He wonders, will my wife adore this companion or toss it aside in disdain? In that moment, tiny grumpy geese traverse continents like diplomatic messengers, while resilient shepherd dogs from Central Asia journey westward. They join nomads, fiercely guarding livestock from wolves that haven't caught on to the fact that dogs are now allies of humans. Every stop along the Silk Road adds a new chapter to this tale. In India, dogs find temples to protect and leftovers to snatch. In Persia, they safeguard caravans, exuding an air of nobility. Meanwhile, in Central Asia, they form bonds with fearless horsemen. In China, they transform into pampered palace pets, offering judgmental glances to all who enter. Dogs do more than spread biologically. They weave themselves into the very fabric of culture. Stories about them circulate among people. Merchants trade them like precious goods, and kings request them as esteemed gifts. Whole communities reshape their views on wolves, influenced by these dogs that roam vast empires, sniffing out every opportunity. By the time the Silk Road reaches its zenith, dogs achieve something remarkable. They become the first global citizens, following humanity's breadcrumbs across the world. While humans chart trade routes, construct empires, and vie for territory, dogs simply embrace their existence, becoming a beloved part of our shared journey. As civilization flourishes, it evolves into a world where material wealth takes center stage. In this new era, dogs transition from practical companions, hunters and guardians, to symbols of status and luxury. They become the fashionable accessories that signal affluence, showcasing a lifestyle where owning a dog means you possess the means to care for a creature that seems to serve no purpose at all. Imagine the wealthy households of ancient Greece. Here, a fancy dog becomes akin to flaunting a sports car on social media. The more exotic the breed, the more it suggests that you are living a life free of serious concerns. Aristocrats parade through bustling markets with their elegant, fluffy companions, while the dogs themselves appear bewildered by their opulent surroundings. They might wonder, what are all these marble statues doing here? And why is there so much commotion about democracy? But the Romans elevate this concept to grandiose heights. Noble families keep toy dogs so small they can fit snugly into a sleeve. These tiny creatures, defying the laws of evolution, seem to have no purpose in the traditional sense. They neither hunt nor guard, and their barking leaves much to be desired. Instead, their main role is to lounge on silk pillows, exuding an air of judgment that only the elite can truly appreciate. Isn't it fascinating how our relationship with dogs has transformed over time? As you explore the fascinating history of dogs, you might notice how many have thrived alongside humans. During this time, professional dog breeders began to emerge, crafting breeds tailored for affluent households. These breeders likely contributed to many of the modern challenges we face with dogs today. Issues like overbred noses, fragile bones, and anxiety disorders have roots in generations of selective breeding, influenced by the whims of wealth and status. Yet, it wasn't just the small breeds that captured the hearts of the rich. The elite also favored massive dogs, enormous, majestic beasts that could guard grand estates, intimidate rivals, and at times accidentally wreak havoc on their surroundings. Owning such a dog was akin to declaring, "I possess power," while also acknowledging the risk of being crushed under its weight. Dogs began to make their way into art too. Every noble wanted their portrait adorned with a loyal canine companion, a testament to their sophistication, faithfulness, and emotional depth. Examining surviving sculptures, it becomes evident that some nobles cherished their dogs even more than their spouses. As empires rose and fell, the significance of dogs evolved. They transformed from mere animals into vital social markers, political symbols, and reflections of taste, wealth, and refinement, sometimes even delusion. The dog that once roamed the earth hunting mammoths now reclines in marble villas, enjoying roasted duck, while the wolf that once thrived by chasing deer now survives by being irresistibly charming. As you reflect on this evolution, consider what your own relationship with dogs reveals about you. Would you like to delve deeper into this intriguing journey? Imagine a time when status and wealth are symbolized not by riches, but by a creature that offers nothing in return, yet is treated like royalty. Welcome to medieval Europe, where the average peasant's life expectancy lingered somewhere between uncertainty and the ever-looming threat of plague. If you found yourself among the poor, essentially everyone except a select few, your daily existence revolved around rising with the sun, enduring grueling labor, consuming bread that could threaten your teeth, and evading diseases that began with a cough and ended in a grave. In this turbulent world, dogs emerged as vital allies. They weren't mere luxury items or symbols of status, they were essential for survival. The medieval peasant relied on three defenses against the chaos of life: a wooden door that barely closed, fervent prayers, and a dog that barked at every little thing. These medieval watchdogs weren't the noble guardians of a grand estate. Instead, they were scruffy, muddy, and often resembled potato-shaped creatures, carrying the scent of compost and questionable choices. Yet, their loyalty was unwavering. They remained alert, always ready to raise the alarm, even if the threat was just a leaf fluttering in the breeze. These dogs patrolled village boundaries, protected livestock, and guided peasants home after long, exhausting days in the fields. As you reflect on this era, consider the essential role these dogs played in the lives of those who had so little. They were more than pets, they were partners in survival. Imagine a time when life was far from luxurious. Dogs weren't pampered or groomed, nor were they treated to high-quality medieval kibble. Instead, their meals often consisted of table scraps, stale bread, and whatever they could scavenge from the ground, topics that rarely come up in polite conversation. Yet, these medieval peasants cherished their dogs in their own unique way. Picture a dog curled up by the hearth, a generous term for a simple pile of burning sticks. This furry companion provided warmth to children during the cold winter nights and acted as a deterrent against thieves who dared to rob someone with so little to lose. These dogs were more than pets. They were loyal housemates, standing guard against predators like wolves, foxes, or even the occasional drunken knight who mistakenly dozed off in the wrong cottage. In this partnership, both dogs and humans benefited. Dogs enjoyed the comfort of warmth, a human family to belong to, and a steady, albeit disappointing, food supply. They received affection, not fancy collars or plush beds, but gentle pats on the head and a life free from the complexities of pack politics. Medieval dogs had their roles to play. They herded sheep, protected granaries, and patrolled the muddy roads with the same seriousness as a knight defending his honor, though it's worth noting that knights usually had a more pleasant scent. In the social hierarchy of village life, peasants were at the bottom. Yet, dogs held a position slightly above peasants and just below the local priest. So, what do you think it was like for these dogs, living in a world that offered them both challenges and companionship? Imagine a time when medieval Europe faced relentless challenges: plague, famine, heavy taxes, and raiders. Through it all, loyal dogs remained steadfast companions, offering their small, hopeful barks into the darkness. Remarkably, this bond brought some comfort. For the peasant, a dog was a lifeline, but for the noble, a dog served a different purpose, symbolizing status, bolstering ego, and providing emotional support during turbulent times. The lives of dogs in castles starkly contrasted with those of their village counterparts. While peasant dogs rested on dirt floors, noble dogs lounged on cushions filled with goose feathers, embodying the disparities of their worlds. Castles were lively arenas, filled with scheming nobles, restless knights, brooding princes, and at least one eccentric jester. Amidst this medieval drama, the castle hound emerged, large, powerful, and fiercely loyal, often exhibiting better behavior than the humans around them. Nobles had a penchant for hunting, which conveniently allowed them to sidestep their governing duties. Their hounds played a crucial role in these pursuits, expertly trained to track boar, chase deer, and remain oblivious to the anguished cries of peasants as their livestock disappeared into the forest. These castle hounds were true professionals, a stark contrast to the nobles who owned them. Imagine a hunting scene unfolding in a vibrant landscape. A noble knight dons a shiny helmet, though he can hardly see through it. Meanwhile, a group of servants busily handles the real work, and a pack of hounds races ahead, thinking, finally someone is letting us do our job, instead of making us endure another tedious banquet. These hounds are elite, strong, swift, and fiercely loyal. They guard castles, patrol courtyards, and most of the time manage to avoid snacking on messengers. In some castles, entire rooms are dedicated to these dogs, often cozier than the quarters where the servants sleep. On the other hand, noble ladies tend to keep smaller dogs, delicate little creatures that lounge on velvet cushions, receiving more affection than many husbands. These miniature companions never hunt, never guard, and contribute little aside from the occasional dramatic fainting spell. They embody the essence of medieval charm. In the world of nobility, dogs also serve as emotional anchors. Knights heading off to battle embrace their loyal canines. Lords share their secrets with them, while queens discreetly feed them scraps during political dinners, where everyone feigns camaraderie. Dogs seem to grasp the palace's secrets better than the royal scribes, and they have a knack for keeping those secrets safe. Yet, amidst their lavish surroundings and expensive collars, castle dogs remain true to their nature. No matter how grand their lives may be, they still behave like dogs. Imagine a time when dogs were more than mere companions. They were a delightful chaos in the lives of medieval nobles. They chased chickens, stole bread, and barked at shadows, refusing to come when called. Even wrapped in luxury, a dog remains true to its nature. Interestingly, as Europe transitioned into the Renaissance, humans rekindled their love for art, science, architecture, and philosophy. Most notably, they found new ways to indulge their canine friends. This era marked a remarkable awakening of creativity. Michelangelo sculpted divine figures, and Leonardo dreamed of flying machines. Yet, it was the Renaissance nobles who birthed a truly revolutionary concept: the pampered lapdog. In the opulent courts of the time, dogs underwent a transformation akin to a reality TV makeover. These small, velvet-like creatures seemed to emerge not from wolves, but from a well of anxiety. They trembled with anticipation, demanded constant attention, and were often carried around, as their legs appeared to serve more of an ornamental purpose. High society ladies would glide through their grand palaces, adorned in layers of silk and towering hairstyles, while at their side sat a tiny dog, no larger than a loaf of bread, who likely hadn't hunted anything bigger than a crouton. It's a curious image, isn't it? Well, the juxtaposition of elegance and the simple, unpretentious nature of a dog. Imagine a dog that enjoys a life of luxury, better than 98% of the population, existing solely for its charm. Yet the Renaissance was about more than just adorable pets. It marked a flourishing era for hunting breeds as well. Kings and dukes bred majestic hounds, designed for speed, capable of chasing deer in ways that made knights reconsider their fitness regimes. Hunting transformed from a mere necessity into a form of performance art, with men in tights pursuing deer while the dogs did the real work, an embodiment of Renaissance elegance. Artists of this period became captivated by dogs, often featuring them in portraits of noble families. These loyal companions sat at their owners' feet, exuding a dignity that often surpassed that of the humans in the room. In these artworks, dogs represented loyalty, virtue, and a reminder that someone in the household possessed genuine emotional intelligence. And then there were the charming little spaniels, nestled in ladies' laps during long carriage rides, balls, and even political negotiations. These small dogs played an essential role during the Renaissance, helping their owners maintain composure amidst the drama of royal courts, filled with betrayal, gossip, and the occasional fashion disaster. As you reflect on this fascinating interplay between dogs and society during the Renaissance, consider how these loyal companions shaped the lives of those around them. Would you like to continue exploring this intriguing topic? Imagine having a tiny dog nestled on your lap, offering a comforting presence that keeps you from flipping a banquet table in frustration. Whether they are small and fluffy or tall and regal, all dogs from the Renaissance share a fascinating journey. They have evolved from Ice Age scavengers to cherished companions in some of the world's most prestigious homes, achieving this status simply by being lovable and alive. After countless years of upheaval, evolution, cultural shifts, and some truly questionable grooming choices, yes, we see you, ancient Egypt. We find ourselves at a pivotal moment. Here, dogs firmly establish themselves as humanity's first and best friends, not through conquest or political treaties, but by mastering the art of being the most persistent companions in history. Consider this: no other species has managed to infiltrate every era, every culture, and every household quite like dogs have. While empires crumbled, Rome fell, Egypt faded, and the Renaissance came to an end, dogs continued to thrive, wagging their tails and asking for snacks. By the late Renaissance, they had truly mastered the human experience. They discovered the secret: be adorable, offer emotional support, gaze intently as we eat, and feign understanding of our commands. It's a simple yet effective strategy, one that has ensured their place by our sides throughout history. Imagine a time when wolves roamed the earth, hunting mighty mammoths. Now fast forward to today, where those wolves have transformed into our beloved dogs. They've gone from sleeping in snowdrifts to sprawling across the entire king-sized bed, leaving us to twist and turn in awkward positions. Here's a little secret that might surprise you. Dogs didn't just become our best friends, they cleverly convinced us to become theirs. Consider their emotional finesse. When a dog tilts its head, you can't help but feel your heart melt. When they whine softly, you find yourself reaching for a treat. And when they flash those sad puppy eyes for just a moment, you might even apologize for merely existing. In return, dogs offer us unwavering love, loyalty, and protection. They provide companionship and enough fur to knit a medieval cloak every week. They stand guard over us, comfort us in our darkest moments, and greet us with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for meeting a celebrity, even if all we did was step outside to grab the mail. Yet, here's the most heartwarming truth: dogs chose us. They weren't captured or forced into a life with humans. They weren't lured by luxury, although maybe just a little treat here and there helped. From that first lonely wolf who approached a solitary fire, dogs have remained by our side because something about us, our warmth, our chaos, our stubbornness, felt just right to them. So as you reflect on this bond, think about the incredible journey that brought us together. It's a story of choice, connection, and unconditional love. Wouldn't you agree? In a world shaped by challenges like ice, famine, empires, plague, heartbreak, and even questionable architecture, humans discovered something truly special in dogs. It was a bond of pure, uncomplicated friendship, free from politics, philosophy, or strategy. This connection is real. The most remarkable partnership in history isn't etched into stone tablets or royal proclamations. Rather, it is woven into footprints. Picture one human and one dog walking side by side through the ages, from the warmth of Ice Age fires to the grandeur of Renaissance palaces. And now, in your living room, dogs have always been by our side, and our need for them remains timeless. Long before the Roman legions entered Gaul, and before Julius Caesar put pen to paper to voice his grievances about those who weren't Roman, there existed a group of individuals who held more sway than any chieftain or warrior. These were the Druids, the enigmatic scholars of the forest, guardians of ancient secrets. They were philosophers who possessed a dual nature, both fearsome and captivating. In a time when power was often derived from the loudest voice or the fiercest warrior, the Druids stood apart. Their influence stemmed not from violence, but from something even more revered by the Gauls: knowledge. Imagine a world where a Druid holds a pivotal role in the life of a Gaulish tribe. To the ordinary person, a Druid is far more than just a priest. They are the astronomer who charts the stars, the judge who resolves disputes, and the political advisor reminding leaders to act wisely. They are also the mystic who interprets divine signs in the smoke of ritual fires. When your tribe faces challenges, whether preparing for battle, negotiating peace, resolving property issues, or even understanding why the pigs suddenly refuse to eat, your first step is to seek out a druid. It's not that they are particularly warm or welcoming. Many are known for their stern demeanor. Instead, their reputation as a direct link to the divine is what draws you to them. The authority of a druid stems from a rigorous education that would leave even today's PhD students in awe. A druid might dedicate up to 20 years of their life to study, memorizing vast amounts of knowledge. This includes legal codes, genealogies, cosmology, poetry, mythology, ritual practices, and philosophical teachings. Remarkably, they commit all this to memory without writing anything down. While they possess the ability to write, knowing Greek and Latin, they believe that sacred knowledge is too precious to be shared with those who are unprepared. This method ensures that only the truly dedicated are welcomed into their ranks. After all, nothing weeds out the indifferent quite like the challenge of memorizing such profound wisdom. As you reflect on this, consider the dedication and commitment required to carry such a legacy. It invites you to think about the importance of knowledge and the ways in which it shapes our understanding of the world. Would you be willing to embark on such a journey of learning? Imagine a world where the spiritual history of your people must be memorized by next winter. This journey begins with the presence of the Druids. They don't simply walk, they arrive, cloaked in woolen robes, often white for rituals. Their serious aura commands respect, even from the most boisterous warriors. Kings listen intently, and entire tribes defer to their wisdom. When a druid raises a hand to speak, the forest itself seems to hush, as if acknowledging their authority. Druids embody a unique blend of scholars, mystics, scientists, judges, and philosophers, all encapsulated in one enigmatic figure. Their power doesn't stem from a throne, it arises from the depths of ancient memory. As we delve deeper, we discover their training grounds, the sacred groves. These are not mere patches of trees. For the Celts, a grove is a living classroom, a sanctuary where knowledge flows as freely as the wind rustles through the oak leaves. It is here that aspiring druids reshape and reorganize their minds, often facing the daunting challenge of memorizing vast amounts of information. Committing to druidic training is a far more intense journey than joining a warrior band. Are you ready to explore the depths of this ancient wisdom? Imagine a world where warriors are trained for battle and druids are nurtured to comprehend the intricate tapestry of existence. They delve into the mysteries of the stars, the laws of nature, the essence of the divine, the rhythms of the seasons, and the healing properties of plants. Their education intertwines academia, spirituality, and the harsh realities of life. You might picture students spending years gazing at the heavens to understand seasonal shifts, observing animals to decode omens, or learning which herbs can heal and which can induce visions of ethereal spirits dancing along riverbanks. Yet, what truly perplexes outsiders, especially the Romans, is the Druids' steadfast commitment to oral tradition. For them, inscribing knowledge is akin to distributing shortcuts to the universe. Sacred wisdom must be earned through experience, not simply extracted from the page. This dedication transforms memory into their most formidable ally. As a druid in training, you must commit vast collections of oral history to memory, some narratives lasting hours or even days when recited with precision. If a part slips from your mind, there is no gentle nudge to help you along. Instead, you begin anew, often in the chill of the fog, for nature shows no mercy to those on their path to enlightenment. Your mentors, the senior druids, are both strict and revered. They safeguard the cultural memory of their people, instilling discipline not through punishment, but through a shared expectation of excellence. This journey is not merely about learning, it's about embodying the essence of wisdom itself. As you reflect on this, consider how the interplay of knowledge and experience shapes your own understanding of the world. Would you embrace such a path? Imagine a group of individuals who see themselves as the guardians of civilization. If you wish to join them, it's essential to treat this responsibility with the seriousness it deserves. Their education transcends mere information storage. It's about cultivating a mind capable of interpreting the world around you. A druid must read signs in nature, grasp the cycles of the cosmos, make legal judgments, advise kings, and perform sacred rituals. Their knowledge carries weight, consequences, and profound meaning. By the end of their training, a successful student emerges not just as a scholar, but as a bridge between the human realm and the divine. This role is one that only a few are truly prepared to embrace. To outsiders, druids may appear as mysterious forest mystics. However, to the Gauls, they represent something far more practical. Druids formed the backbone of justice. Long before Roman law spread across Europe, entangled in bureaucracy, the Druids served as judges and arbitrators within Celtic society. When someone stole cattle, broke an oath, insulted a clan, or accidentally set fire to a neighbor's hut, an unfortunate result of open flames meeting thatched roofs, it was the Druids who intervened to resolve the matter. Their role was crucial, embodying both wisdom and authority in a world where justice needed a guiding hand. The authority of the Druids as judges is not merely symbolic, it is absolute. When a Druid delivers a verdict, the entire tribe obeys. Even kings set aside their pride to accept these decisions. Defying a Druid is not just illegal, it is unthinkable. Druids carry the weight of tradition, divine authority, and centuries of precedent in their words. Unlike Roman courts, where a clever orator might twist the law to their advantage, Celtic justice is grounded in memory and consensus. A Druid does not consult scrolls. Instead, they draw upon centuries of oral tradition stored in their mind. Druidic law is not solely about punishment. It seeks to restore balance. Their rulings emphasize compensation, reconciliation, and the prevention of unnecessary blood feuds. In a world where personal honor is as crucial as survival, these judgments bind communities together. A single feud between families can escalate into years of chaos, and Druids serve as a stabilizing force against such cultural disasters. They negotiate peace between clans, divide land, and resolve disputes in ways that maintain social harmony. Furthermore, they oversee oaths, treaties, and diplomatic agreements. When two tribes agree to peace, a Druid witnesses the pact, invoking the gods as guarantors. Imagine breaking a promise in front of a Druid. It's akin to painting a giant target on your back. This isn't about the Druid punishing you directly. It's about the gods, who supposedly take notice. The Romans found this power unsettling. Caesar himself lamented that Druids had the authority to bar individuals from rituals or gatherings, effectively exiling them in a spiritual sense. And in a society where communal identity was paramount, this served as the harshest punishment, a social death sentence, delivered without a single sword raised. Druids played a pivotal role in shaping everyday life in Gaul. They were not just wise old advisors, they embodied law and order. They held the intricate threads of tribal society together through memory, diplomacy, and a reputation so esteemed that even the bravest warriors feared disappointing them. If Druids were the judges and philosophers of Gaul, they were also its ritual specialists, ensuring the spiritual machinery of the Celtic world functioned seamlessly. To the Gauls, every river, hill, grove, and storm held a spirit. The universe was alive, and Druids were the ones who knew how to communicate with it effectively. Their rituals varied widely, from gentle seasonal blessings and healing ceremonies to the dramatic act of interpreting omens and sacred fires. Depending on the Roman author you read, some aspects could even be a bit terrifying. The Druids were essential, navigating the spiritual landscape of their world with skill and reverence. At the heart of Druidic life lies a sacred calendar, intricately woven into the fabric of their rituals. The Druids meticulously observed the changing seasons, the phases of the moon, and the significant moments of solstices and equinoxes. These celestial cycles are not mere markers. They represent the invisible rhythms that govern both agricultural and spiritual life. Festivals like Samhain, Beltane, Lughnasadh, and Imbolc are far from arbitrary. Each celebration serves as a precise indicator in a cosmic timeline. Imagine the weight of responsibility resting on a Druid's shoulders. If a festival is celebrated too early or too late, it could disrupt the delicate balance between the human realm and the divine. So, when a druid insists that the bonfire must be lit at a specific moment, you wouldn't hesitate, you would light it immediately. Their rituals often include offerings to the gods, which can take the form of food, crafted objects, or even animals. The Romans, however, painted a more sinister picture, accusing druids of human sacrifices. Julius Caesar described horrifying scenes of wicker effigies filled with victims set ablaze, a narrative so dramatic that it would certainly capture the attention of any Roman reader. The accuracy of these accounts remains a topic of debate. Were they true, exaggerated, or mere propaganda to justify conquest? What is undeniable is the Druids' profound connection to rituals aimed at restoring balance, healing dishonor, and securing divine favor. What Rome might have viewed as brutality could have been, in the eyes of the Druids, a sacred duty performed in times of crisis. Additionally, Druids practiced augury, interpreting signs from nature to guide their people. As you reflect on these ancient practices, consider the depth of meaning woven into each celebration and ritual. The Druids' world was one where every action held significance, a dance between humanity and the divine. Let this exploration inspire your own understanding of balance and harmony in your life. Imagine the graceful movement of birds overhead, the gentle crackle of a fire, and the swirling shapes formed by smoke. Each of these elements conveys messages from the gods. A druid, having trained for decades, interprets these signs as if they are part of a cosmic language. Warriors would never venture into battle without seeking their blessing. Farmers would hesitate to plant their seeds without guidance on timing. Even kings would turn to rituals for confirmation before making significant decisions. What truly distinguishes Druidic rituals is their natural setting. Rather than relying on stone temples, the Druids favored sacred spaces found in nature: oak groves, riversides, and hilltops, places where the veil between the mortal and divine feels particularly thin. Here, beneath ancient branches or the expanse of sky, they engage in acts designed to maintain harmony between these realms. In these groves, surrounded by the vibrancy of life, Druids become not just priests, but guardians of cosmic balance, guiding the people of Gaul through the unseen forces that shape their fate. While often remembered as forest mystics whispering secrets beneath the oaks, the Druids also direct their gaze to the sky above. For the Gauls, the cosmos is not an abstract notion. It serves as a living clock, a divine script written in the constellations, cycles, and shadows. The Druids are the ones who learn to read this celestial narrative, connecting the earthly with the divine in profound ways. Imagine a time when ancient wisdom intertwined with the cosmos. The Druids, far from being mere primitive priests, were skilled astronomers who charted the heavens with astonishing precision. Long before the invention of telescopes or observatories, they transformed the natural world into their laboratory. Hilltops, stone circles, and rivers reflecting the moonlight became their tools for measuring time. Through patient observation, they learned to predict solstices, equinoxes, eclipses, and the shifts of the seasons. Their understanding of lunar cycles was so advanced that even Julius Caesar acknowledged, albeit reluctantly, their mastery in maintaining a lunar calendar. This celestial knowledge was not merely academic, it influenced daily life profoundly. Agriculture relied on the right timing, while rituals demanded precise astronomical alignments. Festivals had to take place during specific cosmic windows. A druid might traverse vast territories just to ensure that a sacred fire was lit at the moment the sun crossed a certain threshold. If that required climbing a windy hill at dawn, wrapped in layers of wool, they did it without hesitation. After all, cosmic schedules are notoriously unforgiving. Yet perhaps the most compelling evidence of Druidic astronomy can be found in the monuments scattered across Celtic lands. These structures stand as testaments to their deep connection with the universe. As you reflect on this intricate relationship, consider how the rhythms of the cosmos shaped their world. Wouldn't it be fascinating to explore more about these celestial connections? The Druids, though not the first to inhabit these ancient landscapes, inherited a rich legacy of knowledge that long predates them. They utilized stone circles, standing stones, and megalithic complexes as astronomical instruments, aligning them with solstices and lunar events. This alignment suggests that the Druids possessed a profound understanding of the relationship between Earth and the sky, surpassing that of many ancient cultures. In this realm of stone, the Druids served dual roles as both astronomers and historians. They preserved ancient wisdom, weaving it into their teachings. Their fascination with the stars extended beyond mere science. It was deeply philosophical. To the Druids, the universe was a harmonious system where everything had its rhythm, place, and purpose. By studying the heavens, they sought to comprehend the will of the divine. Their cosmology linked human fate to celestial order, implying that the world operated according to principles accessible through careful observation and wisdom. This profound understanding of the cosmos granted Druidic astronomy immense authority. When a Druid proclaimed that the gods favored or forbade a particular action based on their cosmic insights, no warrior, king, or council dared to challenge that decree. Elevated from mere priests to cosmic interpreters, the Druids became figures who bridged earthly existence with the vast, mysterious expanse above. Their insights not only shaped their society, but also connected them to something greater, inviting you to reflect on the intricate dance between humanity and the cosmos. Would you like to explore more about this fascinating connection? Imagine a time when the Druids gazed up at the stars to decipher the mysteries of the heavens, yet they also turned their attention to the earth, its roots, bark, moss, and flowing waters, to comprehend the human body. In an age devoid of formal medicine, where healing often relied on prayer or sheer hope, the Druids stood as Gaul's closest approximation to skilled physicians. Their approach to healing wasn't a haphazard collection of folk remedies. Instead, it was a refined system built on careful observation, sacred rituals, and the accumulated wisdom of generations. Druidic healers were true experts in herbal medicine. They possessed an intimate knowledge of which plants could alleviate pain, reduce fevers, mend wounds, and conversely, which ones could lead to vivid hallucinations of rivers speaking to them if approached carelessly. Their reputation for botanical expertise was unparalleled. They meticulously harvested mistletoe from sacred oaks using golden sickles, not merely for its striking appearance, but because they believed it embodied divine vitality. Long before modern chemistry named it, they utilized willow bark, rich in salicin, as a remedy akin to today's aspirin, but the Druids' healing practices transcended the realm of herbs. They recognized the significance of one's environment, diet, and the power of ritual cleansing. Their methods included steam baths, immersions in rivers, and various forms of massage, weaving together a holistic approach to well-being. As you reflect on this ancient knowledge, consider how these practices might inspire your own understanding of health and healing. Imagine a time when healing went beyond mere physical ailments. In the eyes of the Gauls, illness was not just a biological issue. It represented a disruption in the delicate balance between body, spirit, and the divine. Here, the Druids emerged as guardians of this harmony, tasked with restoring equilibrium. Their skills extended far beyond conventional medicine, encompassing mysterious practices that intrigued many. They interpreted dreams, analyzed physical signs, and employed chants believed to unlock the healing properties of specific herbs. While modern medicine might dismiss the notion of singing to a poultice, the Gauls understood that words held powerful energy. Druids, as the masterful wielders of sacred speech, tapped into this power. Their expertise also included a deep understanding of poisons. Druids recognized the dangers of toxic plants alongside their medicinal counterparts, making them essential in identifying threats and, when necessary, crafting substances for both warfare and ritual. This duality fostered suspicion among the Romans. To Caesar, a priest capable of curing a fever one day and brewing a deadly extract the next posed a significant political risk, cloaked in robes and botanical wisdom. Yet, at their essence, Druidic healers were caregivers. They were sought after in moments of vulnerability, during childbirth, injury, fever, and emotional strife. In these times, the Druids became a source of comfort and hope, bridging the gap between the physical and spiritual realms. As you reflect on this, consider the profound role they played in their communities and the delicate balance they sought to maintain. Druids play a vital role that goes beyond simply stitching wounds or curing illnesses. They reassure, guide, and weave together the invisible threads connecting individuals to the greater cosmic order. In this sense, they serve not just as guardians of the mind and spirit, but also as protectors of the fragile human body. Their healing art bridges earth, plants, and soul. While warriors thunder on the battlefield and kings boast of their lineage, the true political heart of ancient Gaul often lies quietly in the hands of the Druids. They don't wear crowns or command armies, yet their influence shapes decisions throughout society. Where others wield spears, Druids wield counsel, proving to be a far deadlier weapon. Kings may rule tribes, but Druids govern hearts and minds, maintaining the invisible fabric of legitimacy. In a world marked by shifting alliances and intertribal rivalries, Druids act as the diplomatic glue that holds everything together. When two clans become embroiled in a feud that stretches back generations, perhaps ignited by cattle theft, an insult, or a poorly chosen word, it is the Druids who step in to negotiate peace. Their authority transcends tribal boundaries, allowing them to foster harmony in even the most turbulent times. Imagine a world where a Druid from one region can mediate disputes hundreds of miles away, their reputation echoing farther than any warrior's spear. Kings place their trust in them, or perhaps it's more accurate to say they depend on them. Political decisions often require divine approval, and Druids act as the interpreters of that divine will. Before embarking on a war, forming alliances, or launching significant expeditions, rulers seek the counsel of their Druids. A wise king listens, while a foolish one may ignore their guidance, often facing dire consequences. When a Druid declares that the omens are unfavorable, even the most eager warrior pauses, sheathing his sword in anticipation. Yet, the influence of Druids extends beyond diplomacy. They serve as the guardians of national memory, preserving genealogies and histories that allow rulers to trace their lineage back to heroic ancestors. Without the validation of Druids, a king's claim to authority can easily crumble. It's one thing to boast about your heritage, but it's entirely different when the intellectual elite confirms your ancestry in front of the entire tribe. This reality, unsurprisingly, instills fear in the Romans. Julius Caesar comes to understand that while he can conquer Gallic warriors through sheer military might, he cannot fully subdue the population as long as the Druids remain politically active. Their power is woven into the very fabric of society, influencing decisions and shaping destinies. As you reflect on this, consider the profound impact of wisdom and tradition in leadership. Would you not agree that understanding the past is essential to navigating the future? They unite tribes, spark resistance, and embody the spiritual essence of the land. Overcoming Druidic influence becomes as essential as defeating any formidable chieftain. Yet, despite their immense power, Druids seldom seek personal glory. They do not aim to rule. Instead, they strive to guide. Their authority stems not from titles, but from wisdom, memory, and the trust of the people. They serve as the steady presence behind shifting political landscapes, the quiet shadow that lingers behind every throne, ensuring that rulers govern with thoughtfulness, adhering to cosmic order and ancestral law. In this capacity, the Druids shape Gaul, not with weapons, but with insight. In doing so, they wield a power that is deeper and more enduring than any victory on the battlefield. By the time Rome's eagle standards appear on the horizon, the Druids have already established themselves as the intellectual and spiritual core of Gaul. To Julius Caesar, this situation is not merely inconvenient, it is dangerous. Conquering a land physically is one challenge, but conquering the minds and beliefs of its people is an entirely different one. The Druids represent exactly the kind of leaders who can inspire a population to resist an empire. They possess no swords, no armies, and no fortresses. They held power, authority, and a network of devoted followers scattered across various tribes. To Rome, this combination posed a greater threat than any warrior. Caesar's writings, which are about as unbiased as a politician's memoir, portray the Druids as instigators of resistance. He describes them as the architects of rebellion, guardians of anti-Roman sentiment, and the spiritual forces behind uprisings like those of the Vercingetorix. While Caesar blamed them for nearly everything, the reality is straightforward. The Druids represented a cultural identity that Rome could not assimilate. Where Rome imposed laws, taxes, and infrastructure, the Druids embodied memory, tradition, and a worldview that clashed with imperial control. The Romans realized that defeating warriors would only win battles. To truly conquer Gaul, they needed to eliminate the Druids. As the conquest progressed, the Druids became prime targets. Sacred groves were destroyed, ritual sites were defiled, and Druidic gatherings were outlawed. Rome believed that by obliterating the places where Druids conducted their rituals, they could cut the spiritual ties to Gallic identity. Yet the Druids did not disappear. They adapted. Some withdrew deeper into the forests, continuing their teachings in secrecy. As you delve into the history of resistance against Roman rule, you discover how some sought refuge in regions like Britain and Ireland. These places became vital sanctuaries, where networks of defiance flourished. One such sanctuary was the island of Anglesey, a last bastion for the Druids. When Roman general Suetonius Paulinus arrived in 60 CE, he faced a sight that sent chills through even the most battle-hardened soldiers. Imagine Druids lining the shore, their chants echoing through the air, curses woven into the very fabric of the moment. Women clad in dark garments screamed prophecies, while fires blazed behind them, creating an eerie, almost apocalyptic atmosphere. Even the disciplined Roman soldiers hesitated, gripped by the weight of the scene before them. Yet, Rome pressed on, launching an attack that resulted in the slaughter of Druids and the destruction of sacred groves. This moment signified a profound shift, marking the symbolic end of Druidic power in Gaul. However, the legacy of the Druids refused to be extinguished. Their teachings continued to thrive in secrecy, woven into the rich tapestry of folklore and oral tradition. Though conquered, they were far from forgotten. The battle for the soul of Gaul did not conclude with swords. It transitioned into the realm of memory. As Rome tightened its grip and the last sacred groves fell silent beneath the axes of its legionaries, many believed the Druids would fade into obscurity, resigned to the footnotes of history. But the Druids had other plans. They would not simply vanish into the shadows of time. Their legacy flows through the centuries like a hidden river, surfacing in unexpected places and shaping memories long after their physical presence has faded. The most enduring aspects of this legacy can be found in the lands that Rome never fully conquered, particularly in Ireland and parts of Britain. Here, Druidic traditions have survived and evolved into the early Celtic Christian monastic systems. Many monks who later illuminated manuscripts, preserved ancient laws, and established monastic schools inherited intellectual habits strikingly similar to those of the Druids. They engaged in memorization, oral teaching, and held a deep reverence for nature. Their scholarship was rooted in observation rather than dogma. The concept of sacred knowledge, carefully guarded and taught through long apprenticeships, echoes the methods of the Druids. Folklore has also played a crucial role in keeping the memory of the Druids alive. Generations of storytellers have whispered tales of wise men in white robes, healers who conversed with rivers, and judges whose words carried divine significance. As time passed, these stories transformed. Medieval writers reimagined them as wizards. Renaissance thinkers romanticized them as natural philosophers, and modern pop culture has depicted them as staff-wielding magicians with notably impressive hair. Reflect on this journey through time. How do these stories resonate with you today? Each retelling carries a deeper cultural memory, one that honors the ancient Gorish Druids. Their profound respect for nature has influenced countless traditions. The concept of sacred groves even shaped early Christian holy sites, with many churches built near ancient ritual trees or springs, acknowledging that the land itself holds memories of the past. Today, Celtic festivals like Samhain and Beltane, although transformed over the years, still trace their origins to the calendars maintained by the Druids. Their intellectual legacy is strikingly significant. The Druids viewed the universe as a harmonious and interconnected system, a philosophy that resonates with modern ecological perspectives. They believed humanity is intricately woven into the natural world rather than standing above it. What was once seen as primitive now seems remarkably advanced. Moreover, the Druids serve as enduring symbols of wisdom, resistance, and identity. They illustrate the idea that knowledge can wield more power than swords or empires ever could. While Rome conquered Gaul, the essence of the Druids continues to thrive in our memories, myths, and cultural consciousness. Though their groves may have vanished, their echoes remain alive in stories and traditions, reminding us that wisdom is something nurtured, safeguarded, and shared beneath the gentle sway of time's branches. Harold Sigurdsson does not enter history quietly. At just 15 years old, an age when most boys are still learning to navigate their own clumsiness, Harold finds himself in the heart of a battlefield that will alter the course of his life forever. The Battle of Stellad unfolds in chaotic splendor, with steel glinting under the Nordic sun, shields shattering, and war cries reverberating through the valley. Amidst this turmoil, Harold witnesses his half-brother, Olaf the Stout, fall victim to a relentless storm of blades. With Norway's king dead and the rebellion crushed, Harold comes to a stark realization. He is now on the losing side of everything. In the aftermath, the young warrior makes a choice. He runs not out of cowardice, but because even the bravest among us know that confronting a vengeful group of victorious Norwegian farmers with nothing but youthful optimism is a poor strategy. Accompanied by a handful of loyal companions, Harold slips into the forests and journeys east across the mountains, leaving behind a kingdom he can no longer claim as his own. Yet, exile does not break him. Instead, it sharpens him. He arrives at the court of Prince Yaroslav the Wise in Kiev, where this tall, intense Norwegian quickly makes his mark. You see a towering teenager, one who carries himself with the confidence of a man much older. This is Harold, and for him, the journey is just beginning. He spends months building alliances and training with the seasoned warriors of the Rustu, allowing his ambition to grow ever more intense. Yet his eyes are set on something far grander, the shimmering jewel of the medieval world, Constantinople. Known to Norsemen as Miklagard, this great city is a realm of emperors, gold, secrets, and dangers. Here fortunes can be made or lost in an instant, and Harold, still on the cusp of manhood, feels a deep calling to this place. When he finally arrives, he towers over most Byzantines by a full head, leaving the guards at the city gates to wonder which northern saga has just stepped into their midst. Soon, the Byzantines will come to know his name. He will join the elite Varangian Guard and ascend its ranks with remarkable speed, crafting a reputation so formidable that tales of his prowess will echo back to the fjords he once called home. Harold leaves Norway as an exile, but in Byzantium, he begins his transformation from a runaway prince into a legend. By the time he stands before the gates of Constantinople, he has traversed more rivers, forests, and hostile lands than most people encounter in a lifetime. Nothing, not even the shimmering courts of Kiev, prepares you for Miklagard. Its marble walls rise like cliffs, and its markets hum with a symphony of languages. The palaces shine with gold and intricate mosaics, offering a level of luxury that could astonish even the most seasoned Viking. For Harold, who grew up in a modest wooden hall surrounded by goats and snow, this feels like stepping onto another planet. Yet you notice he does not falter. He strides through Constantinople as if he is returning from an epic journey rather than entering the grandest empire on earth. His stature alone draws curious glances. Norse sagas claim he is so tall that Byzantine soldiers appear almost like children beside him. Whether this is fact or a tale woven with exaggeration hardly matters. The Varangian Guard, the Emperor's elite Scandinavian unit, spots him immediately. Joining their ranks is no simple feat. This is not a place for common drifters or drunken adventurers seeking a quick payday. It is a regiment built on loyalty, discipline, and an unspoken oath. Protect the emperor at all costs. The Byzantines trust the Norse, not merely for their strength, but because their foreignness means they have no local loyalties. They are warriors hired for their resilience and their steadfastness against bribery. As you reflect on Harold's journey, you might wonder how he navigates this world that feels so alien yet full of promise. Imagine seeking an honest sword, you would turn to the Varangians. Harold strides confidently towards their commanders, not with a humble request, but with a testament to his hard-earned experience. He has survived a lost war, fought alongside seasoned Rus warriors, and carries himself as someone destined for command. The Varangians welcome him, and thus Harold Sigson, the runaway prince of Norway, joins the emperor's personal guard. Training begins without delay. The Varangians drill in intricate formations, learn Byzantine military etiquette, and study tactics that would seem almost magical to northern warriors who are used to brute force combat. Harold adapts swiftly. His discipline impresses the officers, while his imposing physical presence makes him a natural fit in the shield line. To the Byzantines, he embodies the ideal man to stand guard in the palace corridor when whispers of an assassination plot arise. Yet Harold is more than just muscle. He immerses himself in languages, court politics, and Byzantine strategy. He observes the empire keenly, absorbing its secrets and ambitions like a sponge. Initially, he sought fortune, but he discovers something far more powerful, a path to influence, a stage worthy of his legend, and a forge that will transform a wandering exile into the thunderbolt of Byzantium. Life in the Varangian Guard is a far cry from Harold's previous existence as a Norwegian prince or a wandering exile. The Guard thrives on strict discipline, intense training, and unwavering loyalty to one man, the Byzantine Emperor. For Harold, this realm is filled with gleaming armor, grand marble halls, and intricate politics, a stark contrast to the wooden structures and straightforward swordplay of the north. Yet he adapts effortlessly, as if he has long awaited an arena worthy of his ambitions. New Varangians quickly grasp the unspoken rules, speak little, observe everything, and never betray the emperor. Their responsibilities encompass guarding the palace gates, patrolling corridors adorned with golden mosaics, and standing watch during imperial ceremonies that seem to stretch on longer than some Viking winters. While this may appear ceremonial, danger is ever present. The intrigues of Byzantine court politics make northern feuds seem like mere child's play. Schemes brew constantly, and the threat of assassination is as routine as morning prayers. This environment sharpens Harold's instincts. He learns to interpret subtle gestures, detect tensions in a room, and recognize the quiet signs of betrayal. It's a world where every glance and whisper holds meaning, and survival depends on understanding the delicate balance of power. As you reflect on these dynamics, consider how they shape not just Harold, but the very fabric of this storied institution. Would you be able to navigate such a treacherous landscape? His intelligence captivates senior officers, and his height gives him an almost mythical presence in the emperor's entourage. When Harold stands behind the throne, axe in hand, everyone understands the unspoken message. Loyalty has a formidable guardian. The Varangians train tirelessly, honing their skills in formation combat, adapting shield wall tactics for palace defense, and mastering emergency evacuation procedures for the emperor. For Harold, raised in a culture that values individual valor, Byzantine discipline reveals a new world. He learns strategy, coordination, and the delicate art of survival in one of Europe's most perilous political arenas. His determination does not go unnoticed. Emperor Michael IV himself seems intrigued by this tall warrior from the north. Harold's skill, unwavering focus, and quiet professionalism set him apart in a group already filled with elite fighters. When the emperor walks at night, Harold is often among the guards at his side. During ceremonies that demand absolute security, he finds himself stationed closest to the dais. Bit by bit, he earns a position within the empire's inner protective circle. For a young man who has lost his homeland, this recognition signifies more than mere honor. It represents a new beginning, a chance to redefine his purpose. How does it feel to stand on the edge of such a profound transformation? You find yourself immersed in a powerful narrative of resilience and determination. This is the story of Harold Hardrada, a man who transformed his exile into an opportunity. He envisioned a future that surpassed anything his homeland of Norway could offer. The time for his resurgence has come. Harold's service in the Varangian Guard was far from a leisurely existence. It wasn't merely about lounging in palatial corridors, polishing axes, and exuding intimidation, although he certainly excelled in that respect. Byzantium, an empire of immense grandeur, constantly faced challenges. Rebellions ignited like wildfires across its expansive territories. From Bulgarian uprisings to Sicilian revolts and conspiracies in Asia Minor, the East was fraught with turmoil. When danger escalated to the point where regular Byzantine troops faltered, imperial commanders turned to the Varangians. They were the emperor's elite force, sent to quell unrest with unwavering resolve and the might of northern warriors. Young yet fiercely ambitious, Harold poured his heart and soul into these campaigns. The sagas recount his exploits in Bulgaria, Sicily, Asia Minor, and even the distant Holy Land. Wherever chaos erupted, Harold emerged like a harbinger of fate, wielding his axe with unparalleled ferocity. His tactics, as later Norse traditions suggest, involved striking foes with such force and speed that they were left questioning their very existence before they even hit the ground. As you reflect on Harold's journey, consider the strength it takes to rise from adversity. It's a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, there is always a path forward. Would you like to continue exploring this remarkable tale, or take a moment to rest? The Byzantines quickly grasped a key lesson. When a problem needed a lasting solution, they turned to the tall Norsemen, known for their intense eyes and unnervingly calm demeanor. One of the most notable campaigns involved Bulgaria, where a rebellion raged so fiercely that Byzantine soldiers dubbed it the War of the Mountains. The terrain was harsh, filled with dense forests and rocky passes, where ambushes lurked at every corner. Yet Harold thrived in these challenging conditions that would strike fear into others. The Varangians pressed onward into the hearts of the rebel strongholds, navigating the difficult landscape with a determination that only a Norse warrior could muster. Legends tell us that Harold was often the first to storm the walls and the last to retreat. He was also known for proposing strategies so audacious that even the seasoned Byzantine officers would pause in surprise. With each campaign, his reputation soared. Rebels whispered tales of the Northman giant, while Byzantine commanders began to see him as more than just a force of muscle. He became a trusted problem solver. Emperor Michael IV recognized Harold's contributions, reportedly rewarding him with gold, rank, and trust for his role in quelling uprisings. Yet, it wasn't solely his battlefield prowess that earned him respect. It was his discipline. Even when far from the capital, Harold remained steadfastly loyal to the emperor, embodying the values of loyalty and commitment that defined his character. As you reflect on Harold's journey, consider the qualities that define true leadership. What can we learn from his unwavering resolve and dedication? In a world where many mercenaries sway with the political tides, Harold stands unwavering. This steadfastness is a quality the Byzantines deeply value, especially in an environment where betrayal is all too common. Each rebellion he quells and every fortress he helps capture elevates his status. Harold is no longer just a guard. He is transforming into Byzantium's thunderbolt, a warrior summoned when failure is not an option. With every victory, the legend of Harold Hardrada shines brighter. As the rebellions fade and the empire's borders settle into a moment of calm, Harold is no longer merely a Varangian wielding a heavy axe, skilled at surviving dire situations. He has become something much more exceptional, a warrior whom Emperor Michael IV trusts implicitly. In a court filled with intrigue, Sycophants and foes disguised as allies, the emperor seeks unwavering loyalty. He finds it in Harold, the towering Norwegian exile, who stands firm, never flinching or hesitating. Harold's ascent to the emperor's personal bodyguard marks a significant turning point in his life. The palace, adorned with marble corridors and jeweled icons, becomes his new battleground, rife with political tension. He learns the intricate rhythm of imperial life, the early morning audiences, the endless petitions, and the hushed conversations exchanged behind veils and curtains. As you reflect on Harold's journey, consider the challenges he faces. How does one navigate such a complex world while remaining true to oneself? In this world, a single misstep can be more dangerous than the sharpest blade. Imagine Harold as a silent guardian, his gaze unwavering, much like a wolf protecting its den. The sagas recount how he stood by Michael during grand ceremonies, lavish banquets, and intimate meetings. When the emperor traveled, whether in a grand procession or under the cloak of night, Harold formed part of the Varangian barrier, a steadfast protector against threats. Just his presence was enough to deter even the most determined conspirators, who would think twice before testing a guard capable of breaking a man with mere weight. Yet guarding the emperor involves more than just standing tall and looking formidable, though Harold certainly mastered that art. The Varangians serve as the last line of defense against plots and schemes. They inspect rooms before the emperor steps inside, watch courtiers for any signs of deceit, and intervene discreetly when danger lurks nearby. Harold became adept at recognizing names, faces, and alliances. He honed an instinct for danger, identifying subtle cues, a glance too sharp, a hand that moves too quickly, that others might overlook. In a realm where poison can be more prevalent than open conflict, his vigilance stands as his most powerful weapon. Michael IV, whose health often wavers, depends greatly on the steadfastness and loyalty of his northern guardsmen. Some Byzantine chroniclers suggest that Harold's honesty offered a refreshing contrast to an emperor entangled in court politics. The Norsemen had no connections to Byzantine noble families, no interest in palace intrigue, and no agenda except to fulfill their oaths. For Harold, this experience transcended mere military service. It was an education in true power. He observed emperors commanding legions with a word, managing rebellions with a gesture, and holding entire provinces in the palm of their hands. One day, he would aspire to do the same, yet in Constantinople, Harold was still honing the edge of a destiny that would eventually shake kingdoms. The emperor had gained a guardian, while Harold acquired a blueprint for kingship. Few places in the medieval world held the same allure as the treasure vaults beneath Hagia Sophia. This was no ordinary storeroom. It served as the financial heart of the empire. A labyrinth of locked chambers contained gold seals, ceremonial crowns, imperial regalia, relics, and diplomatic gifts from distant kings, along with more coin than most kingdoms would encounter in a century. Protecting this treasure required more than mere strength. It demanded discipline, intelligence, and unwavering honesty. Unsurprisingly, the Byzantines entrusted this crucial task to the Varangians. The Varangian who earned the deepest trust was Harold Hardrada. His position as a guardian of the vaults speaks volumes about his growing reputation. The empire reserved such responsibilities for individuals who were untouched by corruption, not just those skilled with an axe. Harold, embodying a stern northern honor and a piercing gaze, perfectly fit that mold. The sagas recount how he managed the movement of treasure during ceremonies, meticulously overseeing inventory and ensuring that not a single gold coin slipped into the wrong hands. This was no simple task. Treasure brings temptation, and temptation breeds conspiracies. Courtiers constantly plotted, dreaming of power, influence, or even thrones. A missing artifact could ignite an investigation, while a missing chest of coins might bring down a noble house. Amidst all this, Harold stood with quiet confidence, as steady as stone. His duty extended beyond merely guarding wealth. It was about safeguarding the stability of the empire. Yet, there was an additional layer to his role: prestige. Access to the treasure vaults was a privilege reserved for elite Varangians, and those who served there often found themselves rewarded with riches, bonuses, and a share of the imperial gifts. As you reflect on Harold's responsibilities, consider the weight of trust placed on him. How does that resonate with the challenges you face in your own life? Harold, driven by his ambition, seizes every opportunity that comes his way. His service in the vaults grants him access to unimaginable wealth, far beyond what he knew back home. Years later, when he departs Byzantium, he possesses enough gold to forge alliances, hire armies, and reclaim the throne he lost as a teenager. The sagas hint that he sometimes guarded relics brought from Jerusalem, treasures acquired through rebellions, and diplomatic gifts from distant lands like Egypt and Persia. In the flickering torchlight, surrounded by centuries of brilliance, Harold comes to understand how empires measure power, not just through armies, but through treasure. Each chest he protects and every artifact he oversees deepens his comprehension of wealth as a tool for rule. Constantinople is shaping him, transforming the warrior into a leader. In the vaults beneath Hagia Sophia, Harold is not merely guarding gold, he is learning the essence of kingship. If he had only watched over emperors and treasure, his tale would still be remarkable. Yet it is in Sicily, the sun-soaked crossroads of the Mediterranean, that he truly earns the title bestowed upon him by the Norse sagas, the Thunderbolt of Byzantium. This island is a volatile mix of revolt, ambition, and cultural rivalry, setting the stage for his legendary journey. Throughout history, various cultures, from the Greeks to the Arabs, the Lombards, and the Normans, have vied for dominance. When rebellion erupted and local factions began to break away from imperial control, the Byzantines knew precisely who to call upon. Enter the Varangians, with Harold among them, already notorious among rebels for his sudden storm-like appearances on the battlefield. The campaign in Sicily proves to be merciless. Rebel fortresses, perched on cliffs and hidden within canyons, are protected by intricate city walls. The challenges of siege warfare, especially under the relentless Mediterranean sun, push even the most seasoned veterans to their limits. Yet Harold stands out. While many soldiers struggle against the sweltering heat, this tall Norwegian moves with a calm, unwavering determination that unsettles his foes. His unique blend of endurance, discipline, and sheer willpower seems almost otherworldly to those who oppose him. Legend has it that he crafted a bold plan to set fire to ships in a fortified harbor, disrupting the rebels' supply lines. Other tales speak of him scaling cliffs under the cover of night to open the gates of a besieged town. Byzantine accounts, while perhaps less theatrical, consistently acknowledge his critical role in seizing several key strongholds. Regardless of whether every story holds literal truth, a clear pattern emerges. Harold's impact is undeniable. When a fortress falls, Harold's name often comes to mind. He captivates not just the commanders, but also the soldiers who march alongside him. Although ambitious, Harold is far from an aloof aristocrat. He fights in the shield wall, carries his own gear, and endures the same hardships as his comrades. To the Byzantines, this blend of humility and formidable combat skills earns him respect. Among his fellow Varangians, it establishes him as a leader. His victories in Sicily strengthen the empire's hold on the island and fill its coffers with spoils. Harold, always strategic, claims his share,